Welcome to our session today with some tips and tidbits on Blackboard's Grading Center. And we're going to talk about the reason we want to talk about the Grade Center, why it's important, and we're going to think about what concerns you might have about using the Grading Center. We're going to look at a couple of basic functions in the Grading Center that can make teaching/grading more effective for you. We're going to look at some of the things that Grade Center will do, and we're going to guide you to where you go for more in-depth information, because those you see in here are not the experts in using the Grading Center. So now then, we changed it from the owl. All right. Before we start talking about the Grading Center, I'd like to get some input from you all about how you communicate with your students. Oh, she's trying to remember the unit.
You mean by using Blackboard?
No,
which feature or general?
How you communicate with your students, just general, overall. It might be a letter.
By email.
Email.
Announcements. Discussion board is what I was thinking.
And because you all are all familiar, I'm just going to abbreviate.
Padlet.
Padlet. Wow. And on that note, the two ladies from the library, Rachel and Lori, are doing a session in tomorrow's technology showcase on using Padlet, and they are the experts on it. Okay. Email, announcements, discussion board, Padlet. Everybody online with a response? Well, I asked for 10.
Video, office hours, I don't know.
The what?
Office hours. It has to be technology or face.
Whatever, however.
Office hours.
Office hours, videos. You said videos, right?
Uh-huh.
Skype.
Got email, announcements, phone.
Phone.
Whoops.
We're getting really old-fashioned in here.
Face-to-face showing up to classes.
Well, face-to-face would be in your office hours, right? Or maybe not. Maybe it's before or after class.
Feedback on assignments. Yes. Smoke signals.
Is it in here? Okay. Okay, we got to 10. All right, and Marcel hit on one that I am going to elaborate on. Grading, a really solid way of communicating with your students. So let's give that a little bit more information. So now I'm going to ask you to go to your Google Slides and answer these questions. Why do we grade? What's the purpose of grading? Come up with as many responses as you can. Why do we grade? Okay, I see looks in here, so are we close to being done? Let's see what we have.
I have something here that doesn't show there.
Okay. We need to,
This is the first three
anonymous
on mine.
duck. Oh, all right, so let's, yeah, there we go, there's yours.
The first three of these, that give students on mine.
Passes the class having completed their assignments. Go ahead, reward.
So to reward students for well done coursework and to keep students on track and help them through the course.
Okay,
The last one is anonymous person.
okay, an anonymous person. An idea on how they're doing, the instructor an idea on how the student has comprehended. Someone's trying to avoid the use of understanding, right? Comprehending. Susan,
Evaluate to see how well they are doing in the class. Evaluate to see how they are before they even get started, so that they can then see how they are when they end.
okay.
And to determine how well you're teaching and if you're getting through to them or if they're all like not getting it, to know how you're teaching. And to give out the badges for a well job done.
Okay, excellent, excellent, yeah, yeah. Lena,
Follow up the students, how they are reaching their goals. Identify gaps in the lesson and motivation.
okay, excellent. Okay, I see writing on those other two slides, but it's not responses, right? It's just where the question is?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so as we go back, thank you to the PowerPoint. When we were in here, we went back and referred to the grading center because most of us don't think about, go back one, please, two. Go back one more, please, thank you. Most of us don't, it doesn't occur to us to think of grading as a form of communication with our students, but indeed it is. And if you do like review and give them the chance to resubmit something, that's a definite feedback and a definite communication link. So, and most of you hit on these. We definitely do grading in order to evaluate the student work. We want to look at their competency. We want to look at the achievement of what their the objectives that we wanted them to go to. We want to know if they are meeting their expectations. And so know that the grading plan, and if you've just been through eCert, you know that we had you come up with a grading plan in there. The grading plan is indeed a part of your technology tools. And so as a key point of that, this is how we can push and guide them to student success. We can empower them to be in charge of their own learning, because the ultimate goal is to have productive learning experiences. Yes, grading is definitely a communication tool. And as Lena said, it is a motivational tool to be able to show them what they have accomplished and have that feeling of accomplishment. I saw what I needed to do and I gave it my best effort. I got some feedback from the teacher. Now I'm going to resubmit it and improve what I did before. It's also a really good reflection tool. And we know that as educators, reflection is a huge part of the learning process. We have to think about what we've done. It's that metacognitive approach. And so reflection as an activity is not only for the student to reflect on what they have accomplished, but to reflect as the faculty member, whether or not we're getting the message out in the way we think we are. we've had some conversations recently about communication and how it's put out and how it's interpreted. So that's an opportunity for us to really look at it and think about how we are communicating with our students. And then definitely as a opportunity for productive learning experiences. Because the ultimate goal for the students is not that number or that letter at the end of the semester. It's whether or not they come out of that course having accomplished those objectives. That truly is where we are headed. It's not, and that's not a message that gets put out to students much. So I'm going to empower you to make sure that your students understand that it's not about the grade. Tough lesson though.
They might understand it but not agree on it, right? With them it's all about, do I pass, what grade do I get? I mean, most of them I'd say, some enjoy the experience.
Superficially,
Yeah.
they would not agree.
That's what, I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I'm here because I want that grade. And I can still tell you, 1 A- I got my whole graduate program. And as soon as you said that, it stuck in my head. But the ultimate goal is.
No, I'm with you. I'm saying like to make them see it's this is important and not
but
this.
you can do that, you know, in the modeling and the ways you approach them. Yeah, they are ultimately there. I mean, not ultimately. They think that they are there for that grade, but they're there for a lot more than that. All right, get to turn it over.
So empower. We want to empower our students. We want to have them understand what's going on so they can set their own priorities and they can make their own decisions. But actually, understanding the Grade Center empowers you. It makes your life a lot easier once you have a plan and you know how to implement that plan. You go into the Grade Center, you actually speak to the Grade Center. You tell it what you want to do. So that's why we have that title, Demystifying the Grade Center, because it actually responds to what you have decided you want to do. So, before we start with the technical aspect, I just want to tell you that we're not going to go and cover everything about the gradebook today. We're going to give you an overview about a few functions that can actually empower you. So when you leave today, you will feel more confident and ready to go ahead and put some of these ideas in practice. So first of all, we need to start with a plan. We need a grading schema, right? How you organize, how you divide your activities, how you set a weight for them. We're going to talk about how to organize your columns in the gradebook so it's not that overwhelming thing that is spitting out information and you don't know where you are, your students don't know what's happening. And then we're going to talk a little bit about weighted versus points, which are the main two ways you can show your scores. And we're going to actually play around with the weighted total column. All right? So let's do that. So I have an example here of a grading, what we call the grading schema, right? And in this example, let's take a look at it. We're going to come back to this in a minute. There. All right, so in this particular example, we have 5 discussion questions. We have 1 assignment that is 10% of the grade. We have 2 quizzes, right? Both of them are 15% of the grade. We have a single exam that's 20% of the grade, and then we have a final paper. that is 35% of the grade, all right? Now, and we also have here a definition of what a weighted grade is. It's basically a way to communicate to your students what is more important, all right? What is either more difficult or more important in your view, and a way to give that a higher value. That's it, all right? Any questions? Okay. So the first thing we're gonna do, and I'm gonna have to come here. I'm gonna have to sit here, like, because I don't really know how to. Okay. So real quickly, before I go into Blackboard to show you how to do things, these are the functions that we're gonna be covering today. We're gonna set up the gradebook. We're gonna go and do a real example. We are gonna rearrange columns. We're gonna rename them so they make sense. And then we're gonna include items in the weighted total column. To do that, we're gonna create categories and we're gonna group items into a new category, all right? So these are the steps we're gonna follow today to set up a grade center the way you want it, okay? All right. So we're gonna go into full grade center here. And this is kind of the setup that it comes with, all right? And to me, personally, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So we're gonna organize things a little bit. First thing we're gonna do is, from your instructor's point of view, you don't wanna see all these columns, right? You wanna be able to see your student's first name and last name. You probably do not wanna see all of that, right?
If you say hide from instructor's view, that's the way the students will see it too then. They won't see that either.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah. Well, there's another option to hide those from the students.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go to these weighted column, all right? And the first thing we're gonna do, we're gonna rename that column. We're gonna choose today, we're gonna choose a name that makes sense to us, right? So we're gonna go here and we're gonna rename that column. What do you think it should be? What do you normally call the place where your total score is shown?
Percentage.
Percentage? Okay. So we go here on edit column information. We open that one. And if you see this second box here, that's the name that will appear on your gradebook. All right? So you want to call it total, what do you want to call that one today?
Percent.
Percent? All right.
You don't have to change the column name, only the one. Only grade center column name doesn't have to be changed, the one above.
Because that's what they will see. You will know, you
What-
will still see
see
the top one.
Yeah.
What you have,
But I
the way
know
you set it up
They see
in the, within the units.
Yeah.
But that is a clearer way of showing them what it is.
Well, what would happen if I change column name? Would I see it then also as
Mhm.
So I can change both.
Yeah.
Actually, that one will stay for you, but your students will be able to see the one that says grade name, grade center name. That's the one that they will see. And the one that you will see on that very long list. Now, one more thing is we have two displays here, right? The primary and the secondary display, and your students can only see the first one, the primary. So I had a professor the other day who had percentage and she also had points in here, and she wanted her students to see both. And she found out that her students can only see whatever the primary display is set to show, okay? So whatever you decide there, it can be points, it can be percentage, but they will be able to see only that one. Okay. So those are your options for the primary. We're gonna leave it as percent because we're doing a weighted column, all right? If you were doing points, you would be able to do points for your total column. Okay, so we're gonna name that percent. And we're gonna go back and we're gonna make these available to our students by clicking yes here, all right? So when we go back to our grade center, you see how it changed? Now the name is whatever name we chose for that column. That's the name that is showing.
Can
Yes,
you make that just a little larger?
sure. Yeah, better?
Yes.
Okay. So two things happened. We changed the name to something that makes sense to us, and we made it available so our students can see it. All right? So far, so good? Okay. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna organize all of these columns in a given way. So we're gonna go to the big picture where we can see everything, and we're gonna decide how we wanna organize it. So if we go back to our grading schema, how do you think we should organize these columns? Should we do it by unit? Should we do it by kind of assignment? Very good. So we're gonna organize them by the kind of assessment because each one has a different weight, right? Okay. So we're gonna go here into manage, and we're gonna click on column organization, and we have a complete view of our grade center there. All right?
You would manage and when?
Manage
Organization.
column organization. And I have everything in here. I have a big picture view of my grade center. Okay. So far, so good? All right. So I would say we should start by putting the 5 discussion questions together, right? Okay. So we click on whatever we want to move, and with these arrows here, we drag them where we want them.
Same way you move things around in other places in Blackboard. Same thing, those double arrows are what you can do to shift things up and down.
So we click and we drag our items wherever we want them, right? And then there's unit 4 somewhere. Where's unit 4? There. Okay. All right. And then we have, what's the next item? Our assignment. So we're gonna move that one up. And then we have quizzes. and our exam, and our final project. Okay. So it's organized, it makes sense, I can follow what's happening, and so can my students. Now, you see how we have the numbers here, and then how this one is different? And that's not consistent, that can be confusing. So we're gonna switch that around. I'm gonna show you how to rename your columns. And we're gonna change, actually there was another one here that has a column, but we're only gonna, for the sake of time, we will only do one. Okay, so we will rename that one column. So we're gonna save our changes. We're gonna submit.
Again, consistency across the way you save things in all of your Blackboard.
So if I go back here, it's starting to look a lot more organized. Like I said before, I'm speaking to my grade center and I'm telling it how I want to display my information, how I want the information to be communicated to my students. So I'm gonna go to that one that is driving me crazy. And I'm gonna click on the arrow. I'm gonna go to edit, column information. And I'm gonna do the same I did with the total weighted column. I'm gonna give it a name. And I think it was unit 3. Okay. All right. And I'm gonna submit. And voila.
And Mary, one other thing too, to show just a little item, when you do the mouse over any one of these, what you see comes up right above there. Now, when you can do the down arrow and get all the other information about what's in that column, but when you just do the mouse over, you see the points, what it is, discussion question, how many students have submitted, and how many of the attempts still need grading. So that's an excellent way to get an overview of what needs to be looked at within each one of the columns.
Yeah. Okay, so if we go back to our PowerPoint, so we have rearranged our columns. We have renamed columns. Now we're gonna go and include items in the weighted grade, weighted total column. Before we do that, let me show you one more thing. It is usually a best practice to have your individual assignments, if you're using the weighted total, to have your individual assignments out of 100%. Because it's very easy for your students to make that conversion in their minds. If they get 80 points, it's an automatic 80%. So it's an easier way for you to be consistent. You can actually not do it. You can say this individual assignment is worth 20 points. That's not a problem. However, because we're using percentage, it's normally a lot more consistent if you do everything out of 100 points. I'm gonna show you how to do that. So we go on the edit, column information tab, we click there. And then in here, we will do score, right? And then the points here. And let's say you have a rubric. This is where you add your rubric to your assignment.
And can you click on where it says show rubric to students?
Sure.
So rubric scores, no, down here at the far end of that. Okay. Typically, the default in Blackboard when you attach a rubric to it is no, it does not show. And I don't know why that's a default, because clearly you want your students to be able to see the rubric that you're using and see the scores attached to each one of it. So that's just as a general rule for me. When I'm attaching a rubric, I always go over and click that so that it says, yes, I'm showing the rubric to my students with the rubric score.
Yes. So let's, just for practice, we're gonna make this assignment 20 points, right? And we're gonna see how it shows on the grade center. So there, you remember how before it was on the popsicle 100, now it's 20. We're gonna change it again to 100. And you can do the same with your quizzes. Everything you create on the gradebook, you decide how much it is gonna be and how you're gonna grade that particular one. Okay, now.
Okay, before you go on, one other comment. When you attach a rubric to it and you've got the number of points, if your rubric was based on points, you will get a window that says, do you want the total points to be what the rubric says? And of course you do yes, because why else would you use it? But that's one of the box that will, the dialog box that will open up for you.
Okay, no
Sorry.
questions? No, that's fine. Thank you. No questions? So far so good? Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do, and I gotta go back. Okay, we're gonna include items in that final total column that we have. To do that, what we do, we go all the way, oh, it's here. We should probably put it at the end, right? So let's do that real quickly. Because it's, okay. Okay, so we're back here. And what we're gonna do is basically include items into the total, the column, right? So what are the items in here that are already grouped together? Very good. So we're gonna grab those. So we're gonna go here and take them here, right? And how much were those?
5.
Yes, but the total
20%.
20%. So we're gonna say, okay, this is 20%. And then we have what else do we have?
Quizzes, quizzes to 15%.
All right. Let me show you something before we go and do that. Okay, so if I go here into the quiz, they're not grouped together. So I want to have them together in one category. So I'm going to put them together now. Sorry.
Column management.
Yeah.
Or organization, sorry.
Okay, manage categories. Okay, so we're gonna go there and let's see what we have. These are my default categories, all right? So under discussion, I know that I have all of my discussion boards grouped together, right? And then I have under tests, I have a syllabus quiz, and then I have things that have different weights. And I don't want that. I need to organize them so everything is in the right category, right? So that's what I'm gonna do next. So what we're gonna do, because we have the 2 quizzes here and the exam, and we have this one that is called tests, I think it's easier to just create one category for my 2 quizzes. And that's what we're gonna do. Okay, so I'm gonna go here and I'm gonna create a category for my 2 quizzes, right? And once I have it, you can see that it's showing up here, but there's nothing in it yet. We have to tell the grade center, I wanna take these 2 quizzes and I wanna group them under quizzes and not tests. To do that, we're gonna go into column organization again, where we have our big picture, right? We're gonna go all the way to where our quizzes are. And we're gonna tell the quizzes to change to the new category that we created, which is quizzes. So we click on that one, we click on submit, and we're gonna do the same for the second quiz. Do you remember the steps? Where is our big picture? Very good. Big picture?
Oh, in column organization.
Good job. So we go here, and so the first one that we changed went from test to quizzes. We're gonna do the same one with this one, with the Unit 3 quiz, all right? So we're gonna click on it, change category to quizzes, and submit.
Do I
Yes.
have to do one by one? Can I select both at the same time and change the category at the same time for both?
Good question. Marcel?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe you can.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
She was just
Yes.
doing it so that you could guide her through the second.
Okay.
Okay, now we're gonna go back to our categories. And now we have them where we wanted them. We want them here because they have the same weight. So we want them here. And the quiz, the syllabus quiz, it's actually a test. So I would just leave it in there and then we will tell the grade center to give it a 0 weight. So, because you're not actually giving it a grade, okay? More questions? No? So the final step will be to set up those items on our total column. So we go back to it, edit column information. And now, if I grab my quizzes, I will have them on the other side where I can actually say how much they are. And they were, I think, 15%. All right. So now I have my discussion boards and my quizzes in there. But I should still add some more. And every time I add something, you will see that the total here, the total weight increases. Okay, so let's do the next one. What's the next category that we should drag? We have our discussion boards, we have our quizzes. What else do we need to go in there? we have an assignment, right? We have an assignment, we have an exam, and we have a paper. So the assignment is here. We click on it. We take it to the right side. And how much is that one?
10%.
10%. Okay, so when I click on my 10%, this will go from 35 to 45. And then I have a test,
20%.
20%. Okay, and then I have a final paper, right? And that one is
35.
35%. And now everything adds up to 100%. Yay! Yay!
That's the number we're supposed to have.
Yes. Okay. All right, now we're gonna see if it works. We're gonna submit our changes, right? And we're gonna mouse over our percent column, and it is 100%. And it is 100% because before we started, I went to my syllabus quest and I set it to 0%. Otherwise, it will show as 8 points or something, but you have to change that because we're not grading the syllabus quiz. Okay. So we have a student here. His name is Todd Price. We're gonna see if this works. So to do that, what we're gonna do, we're gonna give him 100% on everything, and we're gonna check that the total column adds up to 100%. Let's do that.
Typically, you would see when you're in the grade center, when they have submitted their assignment, you see that circle, gold circle with the exclamation point in it, which is your indication that there's something in there for you to grade. What she's going to do in here is just manually, and when you look at it, it's referred to as manual override. She's going to manually put grades in there for it. But that's where you would see when you need to grade something, is that gold exclamation point jumping out at you. He's a star student this week, huh?
I know.
Okay. And for my final project, he's gonna get 100%. And if I go back to the total column, it will show 100%. Now, let's say he forgot to submit the paper. And I'm gonna make that paper a 0, right? And that paper is 35%. If I make that a 0 and this grade center is working the way it is supposed to work, it should go down 35%, right? Let's do that.
No, it's gonna kill that great grade.
Right?
That's the hard part of the 0.
Yeah. So we go back, and there it is. It's 65%. And we could do the same for every single of these categories we created. If we make them 0, and then we check the total of the percent column, it should show everything but that one if everything is at 100%. That's a good way to make sure everything is working the way it's supposed to be. All right, so that's all I have for you today. Let's see if there's anything I forgot to tell you.
And I assume then, I mean, you could later on print out everything ourselves, is the
Oh,
word.
yes,
opportunities
yes.
there, So,
Yes. Go back in, can you go back over to your grade center?
That's a good point to go over how the
Yeah.
students will see it.
And I will typically, at the end of the semester, in order to, I mean, I know it gets saved in Blackboard, but at the end of the semester, I like to download the whole thing, so I've got the whole picture of it. So you go into work offline and download, and then it's gonna ask you if you want the full grade center or just specific columns. I also do this when I'm making my, my student list, is just do the selected columns with the names. And then when you click full grade center to download, it comes in this way. The data's been saved to a file, and click to download. And then when you open it up, it's in, it's not in an Excel spreadsheet, it's in whatever that other thing is, but then you will change it to, when you save it, you'll save it as grade center for this class for this semester, so that you've got the listing on there. Typically the other thing that I do on that sheet is put my, if it's in face-to-face class or a hybrid class, I'll do any other notes, any absences, tardies, any special notes about what I've done. The class that I teach, I can, if they don't get assigned their field experience until too late in the semester to get it completed before I have to submit grades, my department chair has given me the freedom to assign an incomplete as long as I make it specific exactly when that has to be. So I'll put that notation on the spreadsheet as well, so that I know exactly when I need to go back in and change the grade. So that's cancel
and
that.
later on, let's say you set this all up for one class, you're teaching it next semester again, you can get the columns, the way you weighted it, just transferred into, is it like
As
exporting,
far as I know,
archiving, or
that
whatever? Or
I'm
you
not,
need to
I'm
set
not
it
sure.
up
It will automatically, the grade, the weighting and everything will
Yeah.
shift over. So, yeah, because if you're doing a course copy for the whole
Oh, so that's
course, then that will,
Yeah.
one of the things on there is to copy over the grade center as well. So, yeah, it should. That said, when you're ready to do that, step in here on a Friday and we'll walk you through it.
Okay,
Good
so
questions, thank you.
in terms of what we did today, the functionalities of the Grade Center, we learned how to rearrange columns, how to rename them. We found out how to include items in the total weighted column. We created our category, and then we grouped items into categories. So when you leave today, you will feel very empowered because you understand the Grade Center, right?
And a little overwhelmed. I can see it on the faces, but this is a start for you. And it truly is just a start.
Yes.
But we can also tell you where to go for more information.
It's just the different steps, you know, once you're in it,
Yes,
you're
yeah.
with it, and
Once
it's just
you
like,
do
okay,
the
what
first
do you have to
time,
do
yeah.
first?
Once
Go
you've done it a
Yeah.
few times, then it
Yeah.
starts to get
Yeah.
automatic for you. But when you go into the tab up above your, at the top line in Blackboard, the far right one is support. And you will see two things in there. This is on one side. I'm going to show you what that screen shows in just a moment. This is on the other side, instructor tutorials. And I think my next slide shows you what happens, what comes up on that. When you go into the one on instructor tutorials, there's a whole list of PDFs that you can download that give you basic information about, and this isn't the whole list, this was just as much as I could copy and make it show up on the screen. but there's all kinds of PDFs, as well as some of their videos. And their videos are usually just less than 5 minutes, 2 to 5 minutes, to show you, to give you some of the basics on some of the other things you can do. And then this is what happens when you click on the other one that looked like the little Blackboard. So Blackboard faculty support. OIT will set up a personal training session for you. So this was, again, this wasn't the whole page of them, but they have one on that they will do on grading. You can contact Crystal, and I had that information on the other slide. I'll put it back for you. And go in and set up a time where you can sit with her and say, here's what I need to do. Help me, please. We've all done it. We have all done it. But they're wonderful about setting that up with you. So let me go back to Crystal Barger, I guess it is the one in the OIT that is very, very well informed on Blackboard and all the things that you can do in it and how to make it work for you. So, and if you forget where you wrote that down or where you find it, you can look it up online. So Blackboard's this was the one where it gave you the different sessions that they will teach for you. And this is the one that shows you their okay, this is a link to a list of some tips that are really some very helpful tips as far as working in the grade book. And it gives you some of the specifics for how to do that. Hide unnecessary columns, communicate the expectation to the student, establish a grading day, and provide prompt feedback. I need to put that one right at the top of my computer screen. Grade the discussion boards as a participation grade or with a specific dedicated rubric. You've all gotten the template for your sandbox course, and with that template came a discussion board rubric, which you're free to use, of course, if you choose. So that's available there for you. Organize the columns. We did that today. And freeze the columns so that you can keep the student names visible in that. Customize the grading schema. We covered that a little bit today. Add categories. We added the quizzes category in there and then applied that to the column centers. You've come a long way today. This is more in large groups, how to assign students as discussion leaders so that's where you grade them. I've got a couple of faculty members who do that, and that discussion leader is responsible for what happens in that group discussion each week. And it's an effective way of keeping up without having to individually grade each person's discussion topic, discussion responses, but to give the grade for the group leader. And filtering the grade center view. So we talked about concerns with the grading center. Are there any that we haven't covered? Or if there are, you have access to us, of course, and you also have access to Crystal as far as getting more detailed information. We've looked at the resources that are available through Blackboard and OIT. Our go-to for when we are not the expert on it, we head right over to the OIT and Blackboard. We looked at some of the really effective ways of making the grading center work for you, empowering you and empowering your students. We looked at column organization and weighted grading schema, and then we looked at the helpful tips. We've had a full day today, haven't we? Full day. This is links to 2 articles that give us some of the background information and some of the rationale for using the grading center as an effective communication tool. It's not just for assigning grades. Of course, that's part of what we have to do with it, but it's more of a tool, a teaching tool. So here we are to our final slide. First of all, thank you for being here. Next week, we're going to be looking at rethinking online assessments, thinking beyond, oh my gosh, I have to do a midterm and a final. So and by now you know that there's a whole lot more to assessments than that. And then the following week, the 2 ladies, Lori Rebar and Rachel New from the library, who've also been through the e-certification workshop, and we just have a wonderful relationship with them. And they're going to be in here starting one of their sessions on resources that are available to you and all of your colleagues through the library. They are just a wealth of information and always willing to help. And I haven't walked in there yet to speak to either one of them, but what I didn't come away with something, what I asked, what I went in to check for, but also some additional stuff. And have you seen this? And here, look at this. They're just wonderful. So they're going to be in here doing a session on the library resources. So we, as always, have a full docket for you. Thank you.
Thank you.